to Mind Over Matter, where we feature young Jamaicans who are shooting for the stars. I'm your host, Margaret Boyne. My guest is a best-selling author, speaker, entrepreneur, and founder of I Am Unique, a brand about self-love and empowerment to inspire persons to rise above their insecurities and share their unique gifts to the world. She shares her story of how her own insecurities about her birthmark led her to create a brand that inspires. My guest is Jennifer Vassel. Welcome to Mind Over Matter, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for having me, Margaret. I'm really excited to chat with you.
Yes, man, I'm looking forward to. But before we get into your book, I just want to first say that you have a Jamaican background. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yes, so I'm first generation Jamaican-American. My parents actually were born in Jamaica. I was born in the US, but my heritage definitely is directly connected to the island. And my parents, one other thing too is, oh, sorry about that. So my the parish that my parents grew up in was St. Elizabeth.
Okay, the bread basket, they call it.
Oh, really?
Yes, you get most of our food is from St. Elizabeth.
Okay.
You're an author and the founder of I Am Unique. So tell me about your brand.
Yes, so I Am Unique stem from childhood insecurity that I used to have. I was growing up very insecure about my birthmark. It covers a quarter of my back and a part of my shoulder. I wouldn't wear certain tops or dresses that exposed it. And I remember for my high school prom, I had the makeup artist cover up my birthmark with foundation because I wanted to look absolutely beautiful that night. But fast forward to today, I realized that no one should feel so insecure that they cover up a piece of who they are. And so that was really the inspiration behind writing the first book in the series, I Am Unique, and then also creating a children's media brand around the fact that you shouldn't let your insecurity or hide your true self. So the mission now is to inspire kids and adults to overcome their own insecurities and share their uniqueness with the world.
Mm-hmm. So were you teased as a child, or, persons would just constantly comment on it?
I wasn't teased or bullied, nothing like that. I was always self-conscious about it because people would ask, they would say, what is that on your shoulder? Is that a bruise? Is that a burn? And because I wanted to avoid those type of questions, I would just cover it up so that I wouldn't have to have the conversation. Growing up, I didn't see anyone who really looked like me talking about birthmarks or insecurities. I was really the one and only who had it. I just didn't know, and I didn't fully embrace the skin that I was in.
Mm-hmm. And your book, I Am Unique, it's I don't want to say it's your story, but it's similar to your story. Can you tell us a little about the characters, a little about the book? And I'm seeing a picture of the book behind you, and it is very beautiful. And I love that picture of, it seems so lifelike, that little girl. So tell us a little about the characters.
Yeah, so Erin is the main character of the story. She has a birthmark on her face and a passion for acting. She wants to try out for the leading role in her school's play, but her best friend Madison tries to discourage her. And so now she has to figure out if she's going to let that get in the way of her dream. I would say that my life story, or the inspiration for the story, there were certain things that happened in my childhood that I pulled inspiration to write this book. And that was really the premise of, starting this brand and starting the story, because Erin now in the first book, she eventually overcomes her insecurity. But in the other stories, she's going to be helping other kids overcome their own insecurities and inspire them to share their gifts with the world.
Mm-hmm. And what I love about the book, though, although it's a children's book, it is a book for everybody, because we have all had insecurities. We all try to cover them up. Some can be seen, some are hidden. So exactly. Everybody can benefit from it.
I can't agree with you more. I like to say that I write for the inner child, you know, so adults can benefit from it. Child-free adults can benefit from it. Yes, it's a children's book and a children's brand, but I'm speaking to the little boy and girl inside women and men, as well as children. So everybody can definitely pull from it. And if anything, I notice that when I'm out places like going to events, the people who don't necessarily have children of their own, they buy the book for themselves because it's really therapeutic and nurturing for them to read a story where someone overcame something and they might still be struggling with something in their adult years, and it does help to resolve those pent up feelings, those emotions that they never fully addressed.
But why do you think, though, it's important for children to overcome their insecurities?
I think it's important to talk about insecurities and self-esteem and self-efficacy at an early age, because what you don't want to happen is they grow older and it's harder to reverse those traumas. You know, if there's a study that showed as young as 3 to 5 years old, kids are recognizing differences amongst themselves and amongst their peers. So why not have the discussion and have content out there to nip it in the bud, so to speak, and address it in the formative years where they're learning, developing an opinion, seeing the world as they see it around them at a young age, so that when they grow older, they're not walking around with a chip on their shoulder, and it'll be harder to chip away at those issues when it's already cemented when you're an adult. So I think it's important to start early on to avoid those issues when they're older.
And in our social media world, I mean, that focus so much on flaws and perfection, and you know, they need to learn, be able to stand the pressure.
Yes, like the social media era is definitely a hard era to grow into, because we're constantly, especially women and girls, we're constantly comparing ourselves to the next person, where there's unrealistic beauty standards out there where we feel like we don't measure up and we feel like we're not good enough. So having a balance of messaging and content where, hey, there's someone who looks like me who went through this struggle and she came out on the other side, I can do that too.
So when did you first start to embrace your insecurity, or, you know, the birthmark, the flaw? How did that happen?
I first noticed that I had something different around 7, 8 years old. And it wasn't until I got to college around 18 where I was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm not going to keep covering up. Let me just start wearing sleeveless tops. Let me start stepping out and testing the waters. So it took me about 10-ish years to fully embrace who I was and the skin that I'm in. So to answer your question, I was about 18, 19-ish when I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let this hinder me anymore. And it even goes deeper than the birthmark. I felt like I was playing small. I felt like I was living beneath my potential. So the I'm Unique brand, the mission and the inspiration, what I want to make sure that I do is to cut down on that struggle period. It took me about 10 years to get over my insecurity. I don't want the next person to have to go years upon years with that same struggle.
So what would you say, though, Jennifer, are some of the strategies that we can use to help us to overcome these insecurities that we have?
I think the first thing that you should do is to, if you're struggling with your insecurities and if you feel like you're unsure of yourself, excuse me, feel like you're unsure of yourself, the first step is to the awareness piece. You have to be aware that there is something that you want to fix in your life. Without the awareness, you're going to continue going on with the pattern and you won't know that you want to have it fixed. So first, have that self-awareness. The second thing that I would say is to partner with people who have, or work with people you aspire
Probably
to be.
mentors or mentors.
Mentors, yeah, mentors, yeah, to work with people or build relationships with people who are in the line of work or in the space that you aspire to be. Really assess your circle. Who are you around? Are these people inspiring you? Are these people in alignment with your goals and your missions? Take inventory of the people that you are surrounding yourself around, because what you don't want to happen while you're on this journey to rediscovering yourself and who you want to be around people who are encouraging you. You want to be around people who don't have their own limiting beliefs. You have to be around people who are forward thinkers, who have a growth mindset, because that can rub off on you. There's a saying that says you are a sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So do that. And then also be easy on yourself. Like, this journey is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. You have to be patient with yourself, and to put yourself out there. It can be very daunting, but nothing changes if you don't change. You have to actively be aware, self-aware of who you are, who you're spending your time with, and then also being brave and courageous and stepping outside of your comfort zone. So I would challenge people or viewers to do something that they've never done before, to inch their way closer to being who they truly want to be.
You've been featured in Essence, Forbes. Tell me about that. And did you think that this book would have been that successful to be featured in those magazines?
Starting off, I didn't know what I didn't know. Like, publishing, my first thought was, I want to get my message out there. I want to stop living beneath my potential. I want to just get my work out there, because I have a natural gift of writing, and I was really not putting it to use. And so, to answer your question, no, I didn't think that it would have national or even international exposure, where people are reaching out to me and saying, thank you for writing this book. Thank you for stepping out on faith. Thank you for being courageous, because it's inspiring me to do the same. So yeah, I didn't, starting off, I didn't imagine how much of an impact that it could potentially be.
It's written in other languages as well?
It is. So we have it in French, and then most recently Spanish. We wanted, self-love is a universal message, and so we didn't want language to be a barrier. We want to reach other people in other languages so that they can access the messaging of self-love.
So let's start at the beginning. When did you actually start writing?
I wrote my first poem at 6, my first short story at 8, and I was published at 9. I remember earlier on, I wrote my first poem on a piece of napkin. And from there, my mom, she always encouraged me to write. She would write even essay prompts so I can just practice and really nurture that love for storytelling. I didn't think about it as a professional career path until I got my bachelor's and master's degree in business administration. And I realized that I wasn't really fully living the way that I wanted to live. Like, I felt empty. These corporate jobs are great. They're great for somebody. For me, I feel like I wasn't fully alive. I wasn't able to be a natural creative in the spaces that I was in. And it took me a while to really come back to myself, my natural gift of writing. And it took really hearing a sermon on New Year's Eve 2012 that really got me thinking, and it changed the trajectory of my life and career, and I haven't looked back since.
Okay. So that book that you wrote at 9 that was published, it was a book, poems, it was poetry?
At 9, I wrote a poem that was published in a collection of other folks' poems. And so I was entered into a writing contest early on, and I was a semifinalist in that for that opportunity. And so my body of work was included with the other poets. The poetry book that I published I think I was in my 20s in 2014. That was a compilation of poems and short stories that I had written from age 6 to 26.
Okay. Was that the bestseller?
Yes.
Oh, that's
And it's called
awesome, man.
Thank you so much. That was my channeled energy. And when I heard the sermon from Bishop Dale Bronner, New Year's Eve 2012, that really made me shift my perspective and believe that I could make a viable career as a creative, as a writer. Bishop Dale Bronner said, "Don't die with your gifts still on the inside of you. Impart to others what was entrusted to you." So, and that happened in 2012. At the top of 2013, I compiled all the poems and short stories that I had written. And then in 2014, I put the book out and it became an Amazon bestseller in 2 categories.
Wow. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
You're a self-published author?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about that whole process. What is it like? Is it intimidating?
I mean, it could be seen as intimidating. I think for me, the intention was to build or create my own publishing company because I wanted to, one of the things that I aspired to do is to build a generational wealth. Not to say that I wouldn't traditionally publish in the future, but because my vision for the company was so strong, I didn't want anybody changing that vision in my mind. So I thought, you know what, I would like to self-publish these works. The process, the important thing about the process is to have a clear mind and a clear vision of how you want your work to be, and then to realize that you need to budget for it. You need to figure out what it's going to cost to get it together. Who are the key players that you want to have? So for example, if it's a picture book, you need to engage with an illustrator, you need to have an editor. You want to make sure that you are putting yourself out there in a professional way. And then also, like, the writing part is a big chunk of it. But then also when the book comes out, you need to market. You need to know a lot of times introverts will be in the line of work, the writing work, but I'm a self-proclaimed introvert. And what I do notice about aspiring writers, they'll say things like, "I'm an introvert. I don't like to put myself out there. I don't like to market." That part of the, and so you have to stretch yourself, right? So you mentioned the word intimidating. Yes, there could be some intimidation depending on your mindset and your frame of mind. But when you're going into it, it's not, you can go as far as you want to go with the publishing process. If you want to, if your goal is to just write it and put it out there and you don't care about sales or your reach, then you're not going to go as far. But if you're really going into, yes, I'm building a business, I'm building a brand, and there's multiple streams of income that can come from this one book, then you're going to make the effort and set the intention to go as far as you want to take it.
So will your niche be children's book?
Yeah, so I right now I'm building the children's media brand, but right now I don't have any limitations on where I'll go in other genres. For example, I would love to write a nonfiction book, a memoir about my journey to inspire other folks who are interested in creative entrepreneurship or learning a little bit about my journey. So I'd love to do a memoir or some sort of business type book. But I'm not limiting myself to any one genre.
What has been the feedback though from persons who have read the book? What has that been like?
The feedback has been amazing. I would say now that COVID is settled down a bit, we are definitely going out to more in-person events. And that was one thing that I missed when we were on lockdown, because I missed the in-person connection. I would have little girls run up to me and say, "I wish I could read just like you," or, "Oh, I have a birthmark too." And they'll point it out. Like that relatability factor is one thing that I do cherish. Even on the adult side, there are folks who are saying, "Well, I have a daughter or a grandchild who I know who could benefit from this." And even educators, teachers who want to incorporate it into their school's curriculum. That's something that we do in our company, is to make sure that we provide curriculum so that if teachers and educators want to teach this, they can do that, and we have the tools. What else can I say about it? It's just, and even from an international international level. There's people who really, I mentioned before about how self-love is a universal message. So we're not confined to one area. We have folks in different countries in Africa who have the book and they're resonating with it. We have people writing in and showing me pictures of their birthmark saying, well, I have one too. And thank you for writing this. So it has definitely been rewarding.
So you go to actual schools and talk about it?
I go to schools, I do readings at schools, and then also I do vending events. So we're actually gearing up this year for a book festival where there's many different genres of book vendors that go there. And we set up shop there and have a table, a booth, and we're telling people about the brand. We also tell them about our upcoming projects. We want to get the book adapted into an animated series. So we love the in-person events because that's a way for people. Another thing that I noticed too is that it's not often you meet the author in person. That's one thing that I noticed where people are like, you wrote this?
Yes.
And a Black woman, and you don't really see that. So it's just something where it's rewarding because you can see firsthand how it's impacting lives.
So you have actually left the corporate world, or you're straddling both?
I'm doing both as of now. The goal is to be full-time with it. I do have some goals in mind. Who knows, whenever it's my time to completely exit corporate, then I'll take that leap. But as of now, I do both. Both sides of the world are rewarding, but my heart is definitely with children's media and putting out more books and telling more stories.
So how can persons get the book to buy?
It's available on our main website, iamuniquebook.com. It's also on Amazon. That's probably one way that most people are comfortable with because of, if they have Amazon Prime, you can get it in a couple of days. But it's available on Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, and our personal website. If you're looking to get it signed, you would have to go to iamuniquebook.com for the signed copy.
Okay. Do you have it in audiobooks as well?
It's available as an audiobook. If you go to iamuniquebook.com, at the very top, you actually can put in your name, your email address, and you could download the audiobook for free.
Boy, I'm really impressed with it though, Jennifer. I'm really impressed with what you're doing.
Thank you.
But what would you say though to someone who might be struggling with self-image? Those kind of issues. What message would you like to leave for them?
I would, first of all, say you are not alone. This journey is one that leads to self-discovery, and it leads to you finding out who you truly want to be. I would write down 3 to 5 things that you love about yourself and why. If you're struggling with your self-image and how you view yourself, focus on the things that you love about yourself. Don't focus about the things that you hate. Because when your attention is focused on negative things, you're just going to get more negative things. That's just the law of attraction. But focus on what you love. Focus on what inspires you. There has to be something about that inspires you. Do you like nature walks? Do you like getting massages? What are forms of self-care that you love to do to get yourself centered? Do you like meditating? And I will also say, jot down some affirmations. Say that I am powerful. I am capable of hard things. I am a work in progress, and I love that about myself. So take those things, think about those things, and keep that in mind. I can't think of anything else, but it really boils down to your thought life. It boils down to what are you saying to yourself? How are you viewing the world? And how can you change that so that you can be exactly who you want to be?
And you have turned something that, persons would say it's an imperfection, but it's really it's how you look at it, because it is just your uniqueness. It's
Yes.
possible then to turn what people would see as a flaw into something really positive, and you have done that.
Yes, yes. It's
Yes.
definitely been a journey. It can be done. It could be something, a birthmark like mine, or it could be something that we physically can't see. But I believe that everyone has something that keeps them limited, you know, or keeps them behind in some way. And it really is about recognizing it and not being imprisoned by it.
But I really hope that your book, though, Jennifer, would get into some of our schools, in some, you know, with some of our young children as well. So I
I
don't know.
love
I
that.
hope you will be coming here to do some of that work.
Let's speak on that. Let's put that out there. I would love to
Yes.
visit. I would love to do a reading, activities. I would love to pour into my home country. So let's put that out there. That'll happen sooner than later.
Yes. And it was great talking to you. And
Likewise.
I'm really impressed with, as I said before, really impressed with what you're doing. And I just want to wish you all the best. And I hope your brand, you know, will continue to expand. You'll go all over the world, I guess, with this, you know.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I see that happening as well, you know.
Well, it only goes up from here. We'll continue doing that. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. Thanks again.